Allison.
Yeah, I know. I just realized something. I got the wrong one up. Oh, all right. Venturing outward on an expedition into the muddy radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the social justice zombie apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, attempting to find signs of intelligent life somewhere. With Rantzerker 68, tour through feminist Pinterest with teal deer. I think we're just going to find radioactive corpses of what was once intelligent life.
Karen is here.
Karen?
She's sitting in the chat. Come on in, Karen.
Karen, what the hell? Why aren't you on the show?
I'll give her a link.
Yeah, give her a link. Bring her in.
Her voice will be in the background, though.
Will it?
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is
Right.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and then the show will be like 5 times longer.
While you guys are doing the thing that you're doing.
So we're here with Brian, the Doge, Mike, Dr. Randommer Cam, and Teal Deer. Do you guys want to say hello or just continue to stare at me awkwardly?
We're not staring.
Oh, I guess not. Well, iconing at me.
Yeah.
Hello, guys.
I was staring at you awkwardly from across like 3 continental plates. I don't know how you knew it was. I think I must have been staring mostly through the earth, but I was definitely staring at you.
Okay. All right, and Teal Deer, can you say anything? Are we good on that front?
I'm content to just sit here drinking whatever it is out of this mystery mug. I think for the sake of accuracy, I should probably do all of these things speaking into a mug, so I can accidentally go like Teal Bane on everyone.
I have altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Okay, all right.
You merely adopted the citations. I was born in them, raised in them.
Oh, hey, Karen. I thought you were going to come on today.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I probably won't stick around for too long. I don't know. I have like a ton of catching up to do. I just got back from Ottawa at midnight last night, so.
Yeah. Well, that's why I figured we were going to be going without you.
Yeah, no, I actually appreciate that. I was just trying to give you the gears in the chat, so.
Well, it's okay.
You kind of make you guys look bad.
But you know that the subject is feminist Pinterest, right? So we're going to be looking at a lot of nuggets of feminist something, whatever they leave after they've gone, after they've chewed through the foliage of logic and reason, and it's moved through the feminist digestive tract and exited the pink star.
You mean the chocolate starfish?
Yeah. Okay, this is what we're going to be inspecting today.
Excellent.
Okay, shall we begin?
Sure. Let me just hold on. I'm just.
Do we really have to start with Black Lives Matter?
No. What? No, we don't have to do that.
Oh, okay, because that's what's on the screen.
Well, yeah, but.
We're not trying to start a race war. We're trying to end one.
Well, yeah. Black Lives Matter
bombs are.
Yeah, for sure.
Like nuking Hiroshima and Nagasaki ended World War II, at least in the Pacific. So, is that what you're saying? You're trying to end the race war by winning it? Well, great. Or whatever. I didn't realize we were at war. Oh, you're right. Tilda, you're right. There is a distortion in the horizontal with I don't think it's on the YouTube, so it's good. This is just cancer. Let's.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about it except what does this have to do with feminism, but
okay, well, I will say one thing. Okay. I don't think white people, I think the majority of white people actually want minorities to succeed. That's why we're happy about the Asians. You guys call the Asians a model minority because they succeeded. Don't you think if white people really hated the thought of minorities succeeding, we'd hate the Asians even more than everybody else? Is that racist to say that? Is it racist to say that? Am I just been racist? Am I racist?
You are so racist, Allison. I can't even freaking begin to know. Racist, that is.
I was thinking about this. I mean, the assumption at the root of this is that white people do not want minorities to succeed. And yet at the same breath, they'll say that we consider Asians to be model minorities. Well, wouldn't we hate the Asians most of all? because they succeed. They succeed better than we do, in fact. And we're not freaking out about that. I think most white people who are normal and not racists want everybody to succeed because it enriches the human race. So no, we didn't start a race war with you. We started a race war with nobody. There is no race war, and there's no ending it.
Well, as much of a war as they make. There's a reason this is connected to feminism. I mean, it says feminism right there in the title. Arguably, Black Lives Matter would never have existed were it not for feminism, because the social justice cancer in every university wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for feminism. And basically, it is feminism for black people. It's the white man hates us, so let's take what the white man has. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so
There was a thing called the civil rights movement, and there was a thing called the women's rights movement, and they were both good things. But once they're established, they go out the other end and become some hideous boil.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the women's rights movement should have been with a men's rights movement and resolving the issues of greater responsibilities. But regardless, no issue there. Eric Jin Spielman says, not racist, but you're being prejudiced. Do you think that when minorities succeed, that's special? Everyone can. No, I don't think it's special when minorities succeed. I just don't want them to succeed, and I don't think most white people don't want them to succeed. I don't think that we are sitting here, I don't know what, like just saying, oh my God, how can we keep the people of color down? How can we keep them down? I mean, that doesn't occupy my mind really at all. You know,
The
it's
solution I've come up with for that is no more nails or staples.
To me, racism is like sexism. It doesn't exist in the same scale that social justice warriors want so desperately to believe that it does. They want it to be an ever-present, always looming shadow that is oppressive at all times on an institutional level, whether it's misogyny, homophobia, Islamophobia, racism. It needs to be that way because it makes them feel morally superior for fighting against it. They make arguments against things that most people, regardless of race or sex or sexual orientation, they make arguments for things that most people don't have a problem with. There are some people that do, but they're nobody really pays them any attention. It's like when people try to make really strong arguments against Christianity, and their example is the Westboro Baptist Church, which is a small inbred group of like a dozen people who nobody thinks has actually like good points to make or a leg to stand on. But they will be evidence of the entirety, or at least the majority, of people of faith. And it's like, if you're going to make arguments against a group, you can, but try not to misrepresent them by, looking at the extremes. And maybe you can't. And I think it's because these people like this need to be victims. Because they want to be the underdog, because there is power in being the underdog. But I know Karen was going to say something, so.
Well, I do want to say that racism and sexism are fundamentally different in terms of how they actually function. But yeah, no, you're right. What happened when what has happened over time has been essentially we have expanded our circle, expanded our in-group to include minorities. But that requires, that sort of sense of in-group belonging, that, we are all one community, we are all, one America or whatever, right? It requires a certain degree of cohesion, social cohesion within the group. And so essentially, an assimilation. You need some kind of integration of these different groups into, and this is why I have always disagreed with Canada's, they've calmed down quite a bit, but Canada used to have a very multicultural kind of, they were extremely, multiculturalism policy-wise. I always really thought that we would be better as a country to focus on all of the things that make the different cultures similar, right? we all love our children. We all go to work every day. We all, do our best to provide for our families. We all, there are some human universals that are cross-cultural. They are universal across cultures. A lot of the things that you find in a criminal code in, say, Canada, those exact same things appear in criminal codes, formal and informal, in societies from anywhere on the planet all the way to hunter-gatherer societies, right? So taboos against stealing, taboos against murder, taboos against all kinds of things, right? So we need to actually, if we want to be a large group that gets along with each other and cooperates and finds some kind of common cause, we need to actually focus on our commonalities and not our differences. And what I see in terms of at least the race issues in terms of blacks and whites in the US is a balkanization of, they are intentionally segregating themselves. They're intentionally singling themselves out through Black Lives Matter and other movements and saying, we are not you, right? There is no us, right? And they're saying they're trying to end the race war, when in reality, they're the ones who are essentially drawing a line between an us and a them. And, and you can sort of see this in some of the rhetoric about Uncle Toms and Oreos and zebras and stuff like that. Oreos, black on the outside, white on the inside. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Race traitors, right? Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't generally, what's the worst that anybody says about a white kid who's, wants to kind of do the whole I'm going to pretend like I'm black, right? He gets mocked by the offspring because he's pretty fly for a white guy.
They call them wiggers.
But it's like he's just looked at as like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, it's just kind of
come across as stupid.
It's just kind of stupid and dismissive.
But you don't see this. You're betraying the white race kind of rhetoric, right?
No, white people, they spend more money on the hip hop industry than any other race. Granted, part of it mostly is to do with the fact that there's more white people, but they don't. Okay. They definitely invest in it.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
Let's get into the feminism.
Yeah. We gotta get into the feminism. All right. So let me look at this next pin. You want me to look at this one?
Yeah. Let me read this. Wildflower Veins says, I'm for my girls into cat sweaters and flower crowns, and I'm for my girls who do drugs and want to stick and poke tattoos, and I'm for my girls who excel in academic settings, and I'm for my girls who want to quit school and travel, and I'm for my girls who want to date, and I'm for my girls who want to have wild sex lives, and I'm for my girls who want to wait till marriage and not have sex at all, and I'm here for every single girl in between, and every single girl who's none of those things and all of those things. I'm just here for my girls, brah. Okay. How about the women, like myself, who are irritated at presenting the idea that girls or women need a goddamn cheering squad to get on with their lives? Like, I don't care. I don't need a cheering squad. I don't need somebody constantly affirming my life choices in order to just get on with my life. And I actually find it obnoxious that you people constantly say that this is something that girls need. No, what girls need is to learn to live their lives and let people have their opinions. Because otherwise, they're going to be trying to chase down making everybody agree with their life choices, and that is fucking impossible. And you know what? I'm just pointing it out. You can continue to do this. I'm just pointing it out that you're promoting the idea that women and girls can't make a choice in their life that other people disapprove of and simply say, yeah, you have your opinion, I have mine, it's my life. Moving on.
It's a little bit like the odd occasion when a school gives like a bravery trophy to its only minority student just for being black or something. That's the epitome of this fucking bigotry, soft bigotry of low expectations. Like, I don't want a fucking trophy just for being my skin color. And it's the same shit with women. They don't want trophies as well. A lot of them do want trophies just for being women. But that's one direction we could go in. Or we could explore other directions.
I think that's mainly to do with the fact that when it comes to women, a lot of the time we don't even have standards. We just praise them for existing. So I think that maybe it makes women think, well, why am I getting all this praise? Maybe or they just come to expect it. I don't know. Go ahead.
All right, this one: things that don't make you less of a feminist. Being in a loving relationship, bondage, dominance, and sadomasochism. Being submissive, wearing makeup, being a housewife, wearing dresses, high heels, shaving. Things that do make you less of a feminist. Shaming women for doing any of those things.
All right. Well, who are the ones that are always doing that?
Yeah, well, it's obviously other women, feminist women shaming women for their choices. I
mean, remember Kirsten Dunst, who in an interview she said, I like taking care of my man. I like cooking for him and taking care of him and basically being submissive. And feminists, the Jezebel and lots of other feminists came after her and said, "Oh,
submissive about that, by the way." So surely taking care of someone and making sure they're okay is a role of agency. It's not submissive.
No, it's not.
Well, it's I don't know. It's just like when I was looking through Pinterest and looking at all this stuff, the overwhelming feeling I got was, my God, you got trivial issues. Like, all of this revolves around people having an opinion about your life. Well, guess what? Human beings have opinions. They have judgments. What women and girls really need is the spine to let people have their opinion and just move on. I mean, nobody is legally stopping you from being in a loving relationship or being into BDSM. In fact, you, as a woman, you probably have a greater latitude for being into bondage and dominance and submission. You're not going to be considered a weird freak. You're far less likely to be on the wrong end of the law if you're a dominant, because your submissive got it in their head that, when you guys broke up, that you were actually a serial rapist who kept them in a dungeon under lock and key. It's like there's nobody is stopping you from doing this. People will have an opinion. Even other feminists will have an opinion. They'll definitely have an opinion about you being problematic. Let it go. Become the kind of person who doesn't care as much about what other people think of them. And why are you promoting this idea that women need to be defined by what other people think of them? And that women should fight against that defining instead of just learning to let it go. Okay, I'm good.
All right. I just want to make a clarification. I mentioned Kirsten Dunst in my example, and Barry's correcting me and telling me it was Kaylee Cuoco from Big Bang Theory. It's true that Kaylee Cuoco did say that. However, I just want to clarify that Kirsten Dunst also made an opinion very similar. She said, and I have the article up from the Washington Times, I feel like the feminine has been a little undervalued, she told the magazine. We all have to get our own jobs and make our own money, but staying at home, nurturing, being the mother, and cooking, it's a valuable thing that my mom created. And yes, the feminists came after her for doing that as well. So this isn't limited to Kaylee Cuoco. It was also Kirsten. And there's other women, too, that are like, movie stars, and they basically walked off the plantation, even briefly, and they caught shit for it. All right.
So you can be anything but not a feminist.
Yes.
Teal Deer, did any of these actually catch your eye when you were looking through?
They're all kind of boring as shit, really. But
yeah.
That last one I find pretty interesting. It's like, yeah, you're less of a feminist if you shame women for doing this. Oh, so feel free to shame men who do any of that, presumably. Right?
I guess that's the implication.
Yeah, but I don't get it. Feminism has this thing where it's like, don't shame women for doing anything. They seem to have completely ignored the fact that social judgment from other people is not even necessarily always a bad thing. In some cases, someone telling you that like your decision is like maybe not appropriate or something that's a bit off color might actually be something that helps you in some circumstances. But they seem to. I suppose it's the hug box mentality of modern social justice. They seem to ignore the fact that social ostracization can actually be a very powerful tool for good. I mean, I suppose they recognize that when they socially ostracize other people, but they fail to then realize how that same process applied to them can actually be constructive in the long term.
Well, I mean, social ostracization is, it, like you said, they use it, and they use it quite harshly for any woman who does not define themselves by this word, which apparently means nothing and everything, but you must have it applied to you somewhere. Speaking of definition, there's the one with the mirror on the wall.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's dive into that one. Don't let a piece of glass define you. Well, considering a piece of glass is an inanimate object.
Yeah, is that supposed to mean don't let other people define you, or does it mean don't define yourself? I'm really fucking confused.
The only subjectivity in this is the woman here. The only non-animate object here is the woman. So you're essentially saying don't let you define you. Okay, that's good. How do I not define myself?
Or does it just mean don't project schizophrenic personalities onto objects? Because that's good advice.
Yeah, that is.
Certainly not. It's certainly not feminist advice. But it's good. It's good advice.
Okay, let's.
All right.
I don't even know.
We need an.
I liked the subtle shilling for Colgate in that image.
Yeah, why do you have a oh my god! You saw the subliminal ad.
It's a Colgate.
Yeah,
It's a Colgate.
This is not actually a cartoon put up by a feminist. This is an advert. So yeah,
For
The whole
Colgate.
page is just for the sake of that one subliminal advert for Colgate.
Does it know it's?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Holy shit! That's scary. Okay, let's look at this thing because I think I know what this is. I think she's talking about femicide in quote unquote femicide in Latin American countries, which is actually bullshit. Women are uniquely protected against violence everywhere around the world. Women are not targeted because they're women. They're targeted despite being women. And you can see that if you look at the statistics. And I did finally find the report that this was from, and I will attempt to bring it up as I speak about this.
All right. Well, you bring it up. I'll say.
Okay, it's called "The Weapons That Kill Civilians," and it found that when aggressors are able, at least in Iraq, and it's a review of non-combatant deaths in Iraq between 2003 and 2008. And there's no reason to believe that this can't be extended to other conflicts throughout the world. When aggressors target people for their aggression, the ratio of male to female who end up getting killed depends on the type of target and how much control the aggressor has over it. If it's a bomb in a crowded place or a shelling, it's usually 50-50 because they have absolutely no control over who is going to be in that location. If it's sniping, it's usually most often they snipe men. Like I think 90% of the time, it's men who get killed by snipe because you have a fairly high degree of control over your target. When you get to something like torture murders, kidnapping and torture murders, it is 98% male. So the more precise the way of killing, the more likely someone will target a man for violence. And the fact is that women are actually being targeted for violence despite being women. When they are subject to violence, it's despite being a woman, not because of it. So you are totally and utterly wrong here. And also, you have reduced women down to victims, where statistically that does not bear out. Where statistically being a woman is protective against being subject to violence. And incidentally, in Latin American countries, once again, the significant and overwhelming number of people who are dying in these drug-related violent episodes are men. So what are you trying to say here?
And how many women are out there in third world countries and other such countries holding up signs to white America saying, "Help, help, come save us from our bad men," and then white America gets blamed for all the fucking wars.
Is there a male version of the word femicide, or do we just call that?
It's homicide, but that
just humans.
covers both men and women.
So there is no.
No, there's no. I guess it would be called androcide, and there is no such thing because, to be quite frank, men are the acceptable targets of violence everywhere. We accept the idea that men should get their brains blown out. We accept they should die, choking on their own vomit, trying to keep their guts in. That's what we think. That role is what we think is acceptable for men. That's the role that men should occupy, not women. So this is an artifact of the fact that everywhere, does not consider it acceptable for women to be subject to violence. And yet she's saying the exact reverse. Oh yeah, it's Mexico. So she's talking about drug killings, and again, they are overwhelmingly male. But they do have a government body dedicated to investigating the murders of women, but not men. I mean, it's a separate government body just for the murders of women, and apparently they're far more efficient at it than the regular police. So, but that's not proof that we care about women more. It's proof that we care about women less.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God! All right. Anybody else want to get in here? I've ranted
I
enough.
can go on to the next one if you guys have nothing else to add. All right.
If your government isn't going to defend you, why don't you defend yourself?
It's not a woman's role to defend herself.
Feminism isn't about
Just a suggestion, though. Just
Yeah.
have some agency, reinsert your spine, learn to flip someone over your shoulder, learn to shoot someone in the face.
You're not allowed guns in Mexico. That's why.
Oh, a
there's hardly any
ballpoint
gun
pen in the
crime.
Adam's apple is very effective. Everyone can get one of them.
Okay, no, actually, let's go see the body image thing for men. Yes, because men need these kinds of trivial messages when they're getting their children taken away, when they're committing suicide at incredible rates, when they don't have any services, when they're subject to violence and domestic violence, and when there are countries on Earth that preferentially investigate murders of women, even though women are less likely to be murdered because it's much worse to kill a woman. But this is the kind of trivial shit that men need to hear.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think this sort of self affirmation approach to health or positivity, or I don't know, the lifting of spirits. I don't think this works as well on men. First of all, because the reality is that men know that their value doesn't come from some like the way that they decide to self-perceive, but it does tend to come from what they feel that they have accomplished and what other people think of them. So, and they accept that. And I think that, if a guy is looking for acceptance, he knows that he doesn't have a lot of value on his own, and he has to create some. And a lot of times this is why, men that care about their health will they'll either get up and do something about it, or they'll just sort of make peace with who they are, and they don't need this kind of stuff either way. So I don't think this stuff really works, but that's just me.
Well, I also would say that too. It's not as important for men as it is for women, at least in terms of being found sexually attractive. It's not sexual attractiveness. The sexual attractiveness of women is a little more centered in their physical appearance than it is for men. For men, it's behavioral and attitudinal, right? So it's a man who's, really overweight, or a man who's, not really that attractive can actually embody certain behaviors and attitudes that will compensate for that. And women can do this too.
Like humongous.
Women can do this too, but they have to compensate in other ways. They have to be nicer, right? They have to be nicer. They have to develop a sense of humor. They have to, be kind. They have to be understanding, and all of those things. They're look at. Well, I wouldn't say I'm kind and nice, but I mean, I'm an old bitch, right? And I'm really not that good looking. I mean, I'm decent, but I'm not that good looking. And I managed to bag a younger guy on a very nice career track. And it's like part of the reason why he's with me is because I treat him really well. And I treat him really well because I value who he is. And also he said I don't bore him, but
He Yeah, nice doesn't do it for everyone, by the way. You don't necessarily have to be nice. You can go with like crabby and grumpy, and quite a lot of dudes are into that.
Crabby and grumpy, but you have to be able to do. I think Brian called it friendly angry.
Yeah.
Friendly angry works, but like berating and
aggressively
like,
friendly. Yeah.
Well, no, but not aggressively friendly, but just pretending to be mad when you don't really mean it. That tends to work well with a lot of people. Or pretending to be mean when you don't really mean it, and just being really over the top with it. But yeah, being actually a harpy, being actually a genuine cunt. I don't think that most people would want to live with someone like that.
No. Yeah. And even if you're attractive, that gets old pretty quick. All right, so moving on.
Loving yourself is the greatest revolution. Oh my god. Loving
This is
yourself for what?
This is so...
What do you love yourself for?
Just for being. Just for existing.
For fuck's kill. You know what, Brian? I'm gonna make a death pact with you. If I ever love myself just for existing, I want you to blow my brains out.
You got it.
I'm actually just being a little bit.
I'm gonna go get myself an AR-15.
Yeah, yeah. He's gonna have to be fairly long range, you know.
Yes.
All right. Oh God, go away.
Next.
Get out of my gender. Support masculine trans girls. I'm
okay.
indifferent to this. Okay.
Whatever.
Next. Why is makeup becoming such a negative, controversial issue? Girls wear makeup for many reasons, and none of them are your business. Because feminists have made it an issue?
These are the important issues. These are the hot topics.
Oh my god, you guys are trivial. You have no fucking...
This is Pinterest.
No problem.
This is where this Pinterest... I thought Pinterest was probably the most normie-centric website on the internet. People go there to get recipes and like learn how to craft fucking macaroni art, and you know, I use it for references. If you're like an artist and you want like photo references, or you want to look at how-tos, there's lots of good stuff on Pinterest. I actually like it quite a bit for those things. Or people use it to plan things like their weddings and stuff. But man, feminism on Pinterest is starting to look like the Diet Coke of Tumblr. It's like so... Ugh.
Yeah, and it's full of phenylalanine. But no, the problem with this is that girls wear makeup to make themselves, almost always to make themselves more attractive to the opposite sex. That is why they do it. They want to look good. Good for whom? Good for themselves, right? It makes you feel good to look good. But the reason it makes you feel good is because other people think you look good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'm sorry, but when you can go back 200 years and hear about, you know, historically women working in post offices, rubbing their fingers on the dye stamps on the burlap mail sacks, and then putting it on their lips.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there's something to it. You look at every single freaking culture. Women have adorned themselves. I read something a while ago that 1/10 of the world's gold is owned by East Indian women. East Indian housewives own 1/10 of the world's freaking gold.
You know, and the funny thing is that either this stuff is trivial or it's appropriated from men. Men around the world are considered the acceptable victims of violence, socially acceptable victims of violence, not women. And yet, that particular woman wants to appropriate that problem from men.
Yeah, well, and look at it this way, okay? Because, you know, like I searched like some runway fashions for men, right? You know, and I found some dude in a burgundy suit, a very snug-fitting burgundy suit with a black satin lapel and black polka dots all over the suit, okay? And so you get these women who are like, female politicians get scrutinized over their clothes. And I'm like, okay, but here's the thing. That's like saying, okay, we're gonna have a school here, and all the boys are gonna wear uniforms, and all the girls can wear whatever they want, And when people criticize the girls for what they're wearing and not the boys, right? We're going to say it's sexism against girls. Like, what do male politicians wear? Navy, brown, tan, black, or gray suits. The suits look almost identical to what they looked like 150 years ago. Okay?
Well, if women dressed to not have anyone pay attention to them like men do, then people wouldn't pay attention to them.
Well, I mean, politicians don't wear clothes, right? They wear a uniform, and it is a standard freaking issue uniform. And if Newt Gingrich showed up for work one day wearing that freaking burgundy polka dot freaking runway suit, which is not even that much of a departure from an actual normal suit, it's just, it's got a little bit of flair, right? He'd be laughed off the international political stage.
You can't even wear a white suit or you look like a gangster.
Look at what Merkel can wear to a gala event, right? Look at what female politicians can wear to these actual like fundraising dinners and stuff. They wear these elaborate freaking, confections and all kinds of stuff, right? And the men just wear a slightly improved variation on the exact same fucking uniform. It's a black suit, right? With satin lapels, pleats down the front of the exact same fucking shirt, and a bow tie instead of a necktie.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting comment from Raisin Tozy here. Men express themselves with cars. True enough. Maybe in a way, sort of that's that sort of men's makeup. And if you can say that a Ferrari is an extension of a man's penis, then
it really is.
Makeup is a woman's extension of her vagina.
Exactly.
Why lipstick looks so much like a happy vagina.
It does.
The car really is an extension of men's penis. This is something that Gadsad brought up. If you actually put a man in a Chevelle or put him in a Porsche, I guess they don't make Chevelles anymore. I don't know, like a Pinto or something, right? Or is that like a Honda Civic? You put him in there and you tell him to drive around. You put him in a Jaguar or something or a Porsche. You tell him to drive around, right? If they're just driving around in the country, it's not a big deal. But if they're driving around where they can be seen, the ones who are driving that high status car get a massive, huge flood of testosterone in their systems.
Okay, be that what it may. This is another graphic or unless Teal Deer wants to put down the mug in the newspaper or whatever he's reading and have a comment here.
I could do. It would just be a very lengthy chat about how evolutionarily this all makes complete sense. I mean, the point is that men adorn themselves with things that men's form of makeup for society, because of social status being the most important factor when it comes to mate selection for females and what they find desirable in males. It's no surprise that men tend to adorn themselves with Veblen goods. It's stuff that is more expensive than is practical to have, and it has been linked to actual increases physiologically in things like their testosterone. So driving a big sports car, wearing an expensive watch, all this stuff will actually make men feel more confident and project more out of sort of signs that they are sort of more sort of sexually prowess, more of a desirable mate. Women's sexuality is a lot more tied to how they look. So it shouldn't really be any surprise that the things that women use to increase their social value is push-up bras, makeup, what are the lemon bullshit things that they wear that sucks their ass in and makes it look plump and firm rather than fucking dumpy like a wet pillow. All of that sort of shit. This should not really be a surprise to anyone. And of course, this not only serves as sort of signaling outside of your own sex, sort of your sexual availability and sexual prowess to the opposite sex, but it's also the form of intersexual competition as well. Men's wealth and resource is then what makes him appear more desirable than other men. Women putting on their makeup and all of that other stuff is then what makes them appear better than other women. And it shouldn't really be then a surprise to anyone that there have been numerous studies done on the psychology of women's intersexual competition with each other. And women will shit talk other women behind their backs to lower other women in their social pecking order. And it's so funny because I've actually had a lengthy conversation with someone once in a comment section. They try to tell me that, like, human beings don't have social hierarchies. This is just a thing that doesn't exist. It's all a patriarchal social construct. So, okay, fine. Explain to me why women do this behavior naturally. They will sort themselves out into social hierarchies by putting themselves up with all of this makeup and all of this other whatnot, because that is their main form of sort of social broadcast of their status. Why will they do that? And then why is there a physiological response to that? Why is it that when we have women in a position of dominance over other women, and once they've established a social hierarchy, you can take an observable pattern of their menstrual cycles and sync them up with the woman that everyone else says, yeah, she's like the top bitch. Everyone just does what she's like the number one girl. To give it a year of all those women in the same environments at the same period of time, all their periods will sync up. That's something that we know, but it happens in line with the social hierarchy.
Okay, you know what occurred to me when I was watching this or looking at this graph or this image? If you can't feel like you can get value through your looks, you do it through your victimhood. As a woman, you emphasize your victimhood, because she's putting this not because she believes that men and women should be equal, but because she wants to emphasize the fact that she's a victim of so-called inequality. Okay.
Wasn't this the shirt that fuckhate.com was selling? Girls just want to have fundamental human rights. The potty princesses, you know? I think this was that shirt. If it is, I just want to point out that fuckhate.com doesn't really give a shit about human rights. They want to sell shirts.
Okay.
They just want to sell shirts.
Child abuse or child abuse.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just point this out. There are women who actually want to have equality or equity, whatever that looks like. That means the rights and the responsibilities, or at least a balance between the two for men and women. And then there are the women who want to be victims of so-called inequality. And they have no interest in equality whatsoever, except outside of adorning themselves with a being viewed as a victim, which is its own kind of bizarre warped beauty ideal. If you can see, you know, that kind of frailty, that kind of incapability is its own kind of beauty. And they are pursuing it by making themselves out to be victims of so-called inequality. And there was this quote that one of our patrons sent through from Atlas Shrugged about this woman wearing this chain on bracelet, this idea of this captive, submissive, victimized woman being fascinating to men. This is just her trying to be fascinating, trying to create value. Because it's probably because she doesn't think she can create the same level of value just through her own looks. She wants to appear to be the chain captured victim of inequality. That's what I'm guessing. You know what? I could be completely wrong with her mentality. She could just enjoy sweatshop labor shirts.
Well, I mean, to go back to, if this is the fuckhate.com that made it, they don't care about human rights. They just care about selling shirts, and they know that if they use people's insecurity or anger towards men or white people or whatever it is to sell shirts, then it just sort of speaks to the kind of audience that would buy them, the kind of people that, you know, they don't like their life as it is. They need to feel like they stand for something. And this gives them moral high ground. And that's how you can get away with having, like, you know, 4-year-olds say the word fuck over and over in a commercial, because you have the moral high ground. Therefore, everything is okay. There are no. For
some reason, you
tactics.
can't just have.
Go ahead.
You can't just have a ribbon. You can't just have a cute little cartoon on your T-shirt. And when people ask, "What does that cartoon mean?" you say, "Oh, it just represents that I believe in equal rights." And you got to go all the way to actually saying a political statement on your shirt. Whereas us over here, we just put a honey badger on our shirt, or perhaps occasionally a Pepe, and that represents white supremacy and misogyny.
All right. Next image.
Yeah. It's one thing for one group and the other thing for the other group. You know, even if we say nothing, we're saying something, and even if they say something, they're saying nothing.
Angry liberal feminist killjoy.
No, I'm not going to argue with that.
This T-shirt just screams out, "My eyes are up here, shit lord." Well, why are you wearing something with writing on it if you don't want me to read it?
And the female symbols are on her nipples. Very nice.
Oh,
Of course.
Are they? God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what they're shooting for. But you know what? I don't have a counter argument for this shirt. I think that this is very accurate.
And you know what? I approve of this shirt. I think all women who identify as angry liberal feminist killjoys should announce this to the world. Mm-hmm. And they should be as strident, bitchy, manipulative, bullying, vicious, violent as they want.
Yes, tell me so I know who to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah, just
and keep reinforcing that social gender norm of women liking flowers while you're at it. Smash that patriarchy.
Oh, Jesus, it's such an ugly shirt.
It looks like, like a couch pattern from your grandma's
from
house.
like the 70s or something. It's awful.
All right, next image. Feminist killjoy again. Well, I'm not going to fight with that. I don't know what to... And then here's a rainbow. All right. 46 people told us why they want, need, and deserve a more feminist India. India needs feminism because boys will be boys is a criminal response to rape. But wait a minute.
When did this...
But wait a minute. According to Jyoti Tiwari, who we've had on the show a couple times, India it's like the king of all false rape accusations. Like, that's like the capital of false rape accusation. And men are totally boned there. To the point where MRAs, or people who consider themselves MRAs, are getting more, they're actually getting airtime. They're getting platforms. It's so bad in India. This is like the opposite of what the truth is, it seems. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, but when did Boys Will Be Boys become some sort of rape anthem? I thought it was just boys will be boys, so don't worry if they track mud in and eat worms. Like,
because despite what the feminists would have you believe, they seem obsessed with sex, and so they see sex in everything, especially when it comes to men.
Like I've said before, they're searching the language for common things we say that excuse men's behavior, and they have to go all the way back to the beginning of a boy's life before they'll find a common phrase that people use to excuse male behavior, and it's boys will be boys. Once they've reached puberty, there's no more boys will be boys. It's stop doing that, or you'll be arrested.
It's be a man. There's only condemnation of behaviors that you don't that are supposedly mutually exclusive with your gender identity or your sexual identity. Be a man. And if you're not, if you don't appease whoever is saying be a man, you obviously don't deserve your gender identity. Yeah, yeah, you're right. That is a good observation, Mike. Although I will also point out that I have never in my fucking life heard boys will be boys used to excuse any kind of sexual or physical violence. I have severe doubts that this is a thing anywhere.
Next.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say I think India needs graphic design artists because he did not make good use of all of that space on that sheet of paper.
No, he did not. Although India does, because they do public service announcements for men's rights stuff, and they're pretty high quality. That's what I'm saying. They're actually, they are actually genuinely getting their voices heard there. Although I don't know that anything is like how much progress they're making. I actually think
it's more sinister than that, because if you look at feminist infiltration of teaching, they actually have created a situation in many cases where being a boy is almost like a medicatable disease, and it's like they want to even strip the minor minuscule protections, social protections that boys have against being treated like a disease that needs to be cured. Because that boys will be boys is just about allowing boys to be rambunctious and dirty and do things, not dirty sexually, just physically, like get in the mud and do things that boys do. And they want to strip that away and associate it with rape culture. They are in fact sexualizing underage boys by associating that phrase with rape of adult women. Oh, this is really fucked up now that I think about it. And it just reminds me of that Riverview ad. Do you remember the Riverview ad, Karen?
No.
It was the rape crisis center that had a picture of an infant boy.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah. No, the time to start to
make him take responsibility.
Yeah, is when you have like a little baby boy who's like maybe not even crawling yet, so maybe 7 months old in diapers.
Yeah, make sure his first word is rape culture.
Teaching him to respect women and to not be a rapist is now at this stage.
Yeah, as a baby. You know, let's sexualize this baby.
Yeah.
And accuse him of rape. And it was just, oh god, that ad was, it's just like this. They're stripping away the protections, the little protections that boys have. And they're sexualizing boys. Fuck it. All right. Feminism means equality. That's it. Sorry, did I jump on you there, Brian?
No, it's fine.
Feminism doesn't actually mean equality, but we all know that. I don't think we need to really...
No, there's no need to delve into it.
Okay, well, feminism means equality? Well, you can't define equality and say that you produce it. That is the most stupid idea ever. To allow a group of people to define equality and also advocate for it? No. There's a conflict of interest there. Fine, you're for equality, everybody else gets to judge whether or not feminism produces equality. And my judgment is no. Moving on, eh?
It's not like champagne. They can get away with only calling it champagne if it's from the Champagne region, but it doesn't quite work with equality, because it's supposed to be for everyone.
Otherwise, it's just sparkling wine or spumante. Okay. Mirror, mirror on the wall. It does not matter if I'm short or tall. If I have skinny legs or my hips are wide, only matters who I am inside. Blue eyes, brown eyes, black or green. What makes me the most beautiful cannot be seen. When you look at me, don't judge me by my parts. The most beautiful thing about me is my heart. Hashtag self-acceptance is key.
So if you express, like, okay, your heart, all right. So that would be compassion for the people around you. Most commonly, a person who has a good heart has compassion for people who do not look like her. So essentially what you're saying is the most beautiful thing about you is your compassion for men. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any compassion for men? I mean, you can have compassion for women, but that's sort of a selfish compassion. I mean, true compassion is for the other, not yourself or people who resemble you or benefiting from that compassion ultimately because you're whatever. You're essentially giving money to yourself. That's not giving. So yeah, do you have compassion for men? Do you really have a beautiful heart?
This is just another one of those examples
Vapid
of
bullshits.
it's hollow and there's not much there, and it's basically like a whole I don't want to. I want to be accepted, but I don't want to have to do anything to do that. So instead, I'm going to tell the whole world to change its essentially its preferences to include me. And I'm sorry, but good luck with that. Like, I don't have a problem with any of this poem except for the part where it says, when you look at me, don't judge me by my parts. You can't tell people what their opinions should be on anything. I mean, I personally don't care, but there are probably many people that would probably say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to judge you. And that is not something you can change. Well, it's just the reality. I
think it goes deeper than that, right? Because I think she's essentially, it's not just sort of the idea that other people might have an opinion, as in, that's not a body type I'm attracted to. But not in terms of like, oh my God, that bitch is so fat or whatever, but that's not a body type. I think that's not a body type I'm attracted to, is what's really going on here. Even if they don't say anything or give her any looks or whatever, right? It's the fact that the whole fat acceptance movement isn't about acceptance of fat people. It's about trying to shame men into being attracted to women that they're not attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's really what this is. It's not about, you know, she thinks that other people might have an opinion about how she looks. It's that they have the wrong opinion about how she looks, and she wants them to have a different one. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. I mean, like, speaking as somebody who's struggled with, you know,
Yeah.
weight in the past and stuff. I mean, it's not fun to know that you're not even in the top, you know, 30 or 40, not the top 40% of women in the room, right? Even when I was, you know, sort of younger and whatever. Yeah, no, especially coming from having been very slim and having a great body. It's not a picnic to accept that, yeah, now I'm overweight and yeah, and everything I tried isn't even working. But you just, like, other people are allowed to not be attracted to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm also saying that I think that she's advertising something she doesn't have when she says that the most beautiful thing about her is her heart. Maybe the most beautiful thing about her is her body. Has she worked on her heart? Like, does she make an effort to feel compassion or be compassionate towards people that don't benefit her?
Yeah.
Saying that, you know, oh, I'm concerned about the victimhood of women, that never, the people who are concerned about it never actually are the ones doing anything for women who are in a legitimate harm's way. They're always the ones who are using that victimhood in order to gain, to earn social points in their immediate vicinity. So I'm just saying, you have advertised something, lady. I'd like to see you deliver on it, because you just saying you have a beautiful heart, I'm not going to believe that until I see evidence of it.
Yeah.
There's a certain Frank Zappa quote comes to mind. What's the ugliest part of your body? Some say your nose, some say your toes. I think it's your mind.
I thought you were going to say the other famous Frank Zappa quote, "Why does it hurt when I pee?"
Yeah.
It was full of wisdom, was our Frank.
Yes, he was. Sex isn't vulgar, slut-shaming is. I don't care.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, this is about, because isn't slut shaming as a term has become so all encompassing. You know, it used to be, at least, you know, when I first heard of it, it was basically when the cops, you know, blame the woman for dressing like a slut when she becomes a victim of rape, which, you know, was a one-time, I think there was one cop in Canada that said this once, and he was well-meaning. He wasn't just being like, oh, you guys are just sluts. He was basically like looking to try to help them protect themselves.
He also prefaced it with the statement, "I'm not supposed to say this, but..."
Yeah.
Right.
But, I mean, he was trying to help them out.
And yet the fact that he said it points to a systemic problem.
Yeah.
A problem that's structural and institutionalized.
But these
Even
days,
though it erupted into slut walk.
yeah. But these days, slut shaming includes, it covers so much. It's so broad that it doesn't really have a meaning anymore. Like, if you're just, let's say you're a man and you meet a woman and you find her attractive, and then you learn that you know, she is really, really involved with hookup culture, and she slept with many, many guys in like the past year. You may not find her attractive, and the reason is not because you're slut shaming. It's because you might be afraid that she won't value. Maybe you want something serious, and she doesn't appear to be the kind of person that values sex that much, at least in the eyes of the guy who is looking to sleep with her. Maybe you are afraid that she could give you an STD, because no matter how protected you are, there is nothing that really protects you 100% if you're engaged with lots of sex with lots of different partners. So if the guy says, well, you know, I don't think I want to mess around with that because it's dangerous, or because I'm looking for a different kind of partner, that maybe I'm, you know, like the kind of guy that wants monogamous relationship with someone who's going to value sex as much as I do, and maybe doesn't appear to be the case, you would be considered to be slut-shaming by feminist standards today. And so the slut-shaming discussion becomes once again one about, you know, protecting women from any and all judgment at all time for any reason, period. So the whole slut shaming is vulgar thing is like, well, by your definition of slut shaming, that means having an opinion about women across the board.
I would actually take a little bit of issue with, like I think his name was Sanguinetti, the cop who said, like, what he said was women should avoid dressing like sluts in order to avoid being victimized.
Yeah.
That's what he said. That was not slut shaming. Maybe he has seen a whole ton of women coming in making complaints of rape, all traumatized, and a significant portion of them, and a disproportionate portion of them were dressed a certain way. And he's essentially saying, he's not saying don't be a slut. He's saying
don't dress like one.
Well,
or maybe it's a good idea not to.
If you want to mitigate your risks, avoid dressing like this.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought it was harassment. Like, I didn't even think it was sex or rape. I thought it was don't dress like a slut if you don't want to be harassed. But here's what I have observed about all of this. This is all about other people's opinions. So apparently, the biggest oppressive force in society for women are the opinions of other people.
Yep.
And that's something to do with women's rights.
Yeah, but honestly, that's just them. That's like Sauron, right? When Gandalf tells the council, that Sauron can't conceive of anyone who wouldn't want to keep the ring for himself, who would seek to destroy it. He cannot wrap his brain around a mind that works differently from his. Okay, and this is what these women are doing, is like they're like, I can't wrap my brain around a universe in which my opinion of others is not my source of power. So therefore, other people having an opinion of me is a source of power over me.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. And nobody says that the real way that you deal with this is to let go. Just learn to work that muscle that allows you to have other people to have their opinion of you. And you just say, you know what? You are allowed to have your opinion of me. You don't have any control over me, though. And that's a muscle. You have to work that to get to the point where you can just be like, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I said in the Q&A at my speech in Ottawa, right? The guy said, how do you deal with all the negative stuff that comes at you and all of this, and I'm just like, maybe it's just me, but it doesn't bother me. People can call me a misogynist, people can call me a rape apologist. It does not bother me. I literally said, this is going to sound ableist, but it's essentially like a mentally retarded kid pointing at you and calling you stupid.
Right? I think they're calling you an Islam apologist now.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, they can go back and they can quote specific instances of anything that I have said that is factually incorrect. And if there is something that is factually incorrect that I have said, I will apologize. But I'm not going to apologize for my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm sort of where you are there, too. To beg the indulgence of the panel, I got into a long Twitter exchange with somebody on Twitter, and I don't know specifically what I think. I'm getting, as I get more and more into these kinds of things, I'm getting less and less enamored of the idea that there is oppression related to gender. I mean, even in the West of men.
I never use the word oppressed when it comes to men and women. I never do.
Disenfranchisement has a very specific meaning. It means that you don't have particular rights or considerations. But oppression just seems to muddy the waters when it comes to men and women.
Disadvantage, advantage, benefits and obligations, entitlements and obligations. That's how I talk about these things. I never, ever, ever frame it in terms of oppression, because I don't think that there is oppression along gender lines.
Gender lines.
Along sex lines.
Compare racism and sexism.
Transgender people have been oppressed, right? And gay and lesbian people have been oppressed, I think. So along gender lines, just because they don't conform, yeah, sure, but for just regular men and women, no, I don't think the term applies. I think the only time the term has actually been applicable is in terms of because women had limited rights, but they had extra protections under the law, right? They had constraints, but they had extra protections, right? What we're seeing now with men and sort of the feminist influence on government is we are seeing women having extra rights and men having constraints but no extra protections. They like the idea that a matriarchy will be in any way just, right? I said it in the Q&A or maybe in the panel. The idea a patriarchy will say women and children first onto the lifeboats, and a matriarchy will say women and children and the women's luggage first onto the lifeboats. That is what will happen.
Yeah, but the problem is that just the anyway. This is an aside. Do we want to continue? Teal Dare, do you want to add anything to this?
I can't even remember what the hell was going on.
Yeah, I know this live stream has gotten.
We were talking about slut shaming, but we can go on to the.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, as Brian said, the slut shaming definition has expanded so much it's lost all meaning. I mean, we're in a situation now where you can be accused of slut shaming a girl because you don't want to sleep with her because she's got AIDS.
Yep.
Like, oh, you're just slut shame. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you're slut shaming if you think that you wouldn't want to have sex with a woman because she has STDs. It's like, no, sorry, I just very much value my testicular fortitude. I'd rather not have that eroded away by your venereal disease.
Yeah, I like having my immune system.
Yeah. I'm not questioning your life choices. I just, like having my junk actually work.
All right, so next image. Let boys be feminine.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
don't be surprised if in 20 or 30 years' time none of the girls want to fuck them and they're all complaining about where all the good men have gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's that, right? But if it was just let boys be feminine, that would be one thing. But the trend seems to be make boys be feminine. Yeah. And I just really am not impressed with that. No. I'm more like a Marlo Thomas-ite. Like free to be you and me. Don't let your genitals get in the way of what you want to do. There you go. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to accept that people will have opinions. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one is so boring.
Surely they should have said let girls be masculine there. Surely girls are the ones who aren't allowed to be things. So the feminist message should be let girls be masculine. Oh wait, we've been letting girls be masculine since forever.
Yeah,
They're called tomboys.
A tomboy is not a pejorative. A girl.
Because of femophobia, though. It's because of femophobia.
No, it's because of homophobia, I heard. It's not because when boys are feminine, girls are absolutely vicious with them. No, it couldn't have anything to do with that. No. It's all about homophobia and stuff like that, right? And misogyny. It's not about actually the fact that men have always had a more rigid role than women. It has nothing to do with the fact that when you look at the play behaviors of other primates, right? The males do almost exclusively guy things. They, stick carrying behaviors by chimpanzees. They carry their sticks like weapons or tools almost all the time. And girls alternate because, we came from a system where all the mothers were single mothers and they got all their own food. And so they need to have a more broad jack of all trades set of skills. So they're going to play with the trucks and they're going to play with the dolls, right? And the boys, right, play with the trucks or the weapons or the tools because they have a narrower role. They have a narrower scope of usefulness within the culture.
Okay, let's do the next one because I don't like these Pinterest slides when they're boring. Let's support each other and watch each other grow. This is vacuous, and you know why they're constantly compelled to do this? Because women don't do it. It's more like a bucket of crabs situation.
This is like a sophomore year art project or something. That's
it's like being bathed in warm spittle.
Yeah, having said that, giggity.
Yeah. Oh my god. On notebook paper. Don't you dare make me feel ashamed of my body, of my scars.
Oh my god.
I know.
Whatever. Okay.
Okay, this is a cutter.
Yeah, so the cutter. Of my scars, of my body hair, of my stretch marks, of my acne, of my piercings, of my size. She looks really small
for
there.
fuck's sake!
Of
Again, this is all
anything.
about- All right, guys. If your only problem is the opinion of other people, you
This
don't
is the
have a
same
problem.
chick who sees some weird medium in the mirror. I think I recognize the cartoon style. Well, you should stop, letting a 6-panel cartoon strip define you, darling.
Yes.
Ugh.
Checkmate.
Cutters. I dated a cutter. Don't do it. Male privilege is I have a boyfriend being the only thing that can actually stop someone from hitting on you because they respect another male-bodied person more than they respect your rejection or lack of interest. There was actually research.
There was someone who. There was actually research that was done that found that women. Oh, sorry, Brian. I just femterrupted.
You can. Yeah, it's fine. Just read it.
And that found that women used an "I have a boyfriend and husband" excuse to reject unwanted sexual attention and harassment by their bosses were actually more likely to be left alone than any other excuse, including "I'm not interested." By their bosses? Why don't you just go to the fucking HR department? That's why it's there. I mean, what male boss is stupid enough to actually hit on a female employee under his direction at this point in time?
You don't even need to hit on a female employee to get fired for sexual harassment. All you need is for a woman employee to not decide she doesn't like you, and then she can just go to HR and get you fired. She can just make the claim. Because when I've seen this happen in my jobs, where a very sensitive woman that was just like had a chip on her shoulder, or she just decided she didn't like the boss, or an employee would just go to us, because I was the manager at the time, say, this is going on, this sexual harassment, this is how it happened. I have no evidence. All I have is her testimony. And then I go to my boss and I say, well, this is what she's claiming, but I don't have any evidence and I don't have any testimony. Of course, the guy is, that she's saying this about, he's like denying it. So what do I do? And my boss was like, we unfortunately, our hands are tied. We have to take this seriously. We have to fire the guy. Because if we don't, she's just going to go above you to the next level. And when you get beyond at least where I worked, where you have like locations, once you go out of the location, you go to the corporate level, the people in corporate they're not interested in what the truth is. They're just interested in like essentially squashing the situation, avoiding the lawsuit.
Okay, yeah.
And then, so they'll just fire him without evidence. Because they're just like,
Okay,
we
so
don't want to take the
essentially they'll
risk.
just
Side
with whoever's more risky.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Or whoever's gonna bring them more value. Like if they think that she's not worth anything and that she can't really follow through, like they might call her on her bluff and get rid of her. But more often than not, they'll just fire the guy.
I wanna relay an experience because my daughter was experiencing sexual harassment at work. Well, actually not at work, but at the bus stop coming home from work. From a fellow employee at like 11:30 at night and stuff. So like kind of actually really, well, at work too, but mostly, yeah.
And on with the anecdote.
Okay, and it involved, him touching her hair and hitting on her and things. And she rebuffed him. She said, "No, sorry, I'm not interested. I have a boyfriend." And then it was, no, actually, that's kind of inappropriate. She's very blunt about these things. She'll come right out and say that's actually inappropriate. He was from, I think, he was from a Middle Eastern country or from North Africa or something like that. And and then it kept on and kept on, and she asked my advice, and I said, well, you let him know on no uncertain terms that if he continues to do it, he's going to get in trouble. He's going to end up getting fired, right? And you don't want to see that happen, so he needs to stop. And then he continued, and so she went to her manager and told them about it. And within one day, they'd changed her schedule so that she was never ever leaving anywhere near the same time he was leaving. They didn't fire him. They did a full kind of, talk. I was there when she talked to them, and then talked to him, and they just dealt. He hasn't been fired, right? He's been given a stern talking to, and essentially, the problem is gone, right? It's done. He doesn't do that anymore, and so and I had given her that advice, tell him he's going to get himself in trouble, because culturally, there may be some kind of, he was like brand new in Canada, there may be some kind of culture clash going on there. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't realize. But once she had told him that and he kept doing it, I was like, okay, you need to make a complaint. And they really, really got on top of it without actually having to fire the guy involved. They just corrected his behavior, and now everything's cool. So, and this is Walmart. So, HR was involved right from the get-go, the moment she made a complaint. So,
yeah. Well, it's also, that depends on the corporate culture. The corporation that Brian was talking about doesn't sound like it was that great from other conversations I've had with him. But here's the other thing. You know what isn't here? The situation for men. There was actually research that was done that found women. Oh, cool, great. So women get the privilege of having research done on them when they're uncomfortable with sexual harassment in the workplace. Because, that happens to men too. And according to the statistics that Teal Deer brought out in a previous video, when you actually remove the sexual harassment cases that are considered to be unfounded by the investigators, the proportion of men who are sexually harassed is, what was it, 40%? Or
something like that.
Yeah, it was almost getting very close to half and half.
Yeah.
So if female privilege is having research done into your discomfort in the workplace,
yeah.
We don't even know if female bosses actually stop hitting on men when men say, "Hey, I have a girlfriend or wife," because nobody even thought to do the research.
I would actually say too that
I actually have a piece of research kind of on that right in front of me.
Wow.
I've looked it up. Actually, I was looking up something that goes on sort of about the I have the boyfriend thing. It's the token resistance thing. I've actually got 3 studies up. Just sort of quickly checking through all of their results. All 3 of them. One of them was done in America. The other one was done also in America, and then there's a third one which was done in America, Japan, and Russia. All of them, so this is actually 5 separate sample groups, every single one of them have found that between 40 to 60% of women will say no when they will offer a no when the answer is not actually no. Like they'll give token resistance to see if the guy will continue pursuing. So this idea that, it's like, oh, they kind of ignore a no, it's like, well, that's possibly because more guys have found that no doesn't always mean no. And I hate saying that because it's quote mineable as fuck, but there is reasonable evidence to suggest that that's actually true. But, if it's I have a boyfriend, that's much more of a definitive, there is definitely no way I'm going to do anything. And something else which I've actually found really interesting from this study.
Wait, Karen, let's...
Oh, no, but I want to...
Karen!
Because men have said that. No, I have a wife. No, I have a girlfriend. No, I can't. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Men use that too.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to look up the rates of men for that. Can I quickly find it? No, I can't find the men's category.
Well, did they not have one?
This happens when you try and read a study really quickly. But what was interesting is they also actually in this documented consent to unwanted sex, and that they've sort of classed it as sexual miscommunication, which is the reverse of token resistance, and it's when you say yes but you actually mean no. Like you sort of feel pressured into it, which is a thing that happens. You'd be naive to think that it doesn't. But what's really interesting is that in their study, 46% of women had acquiesced. They said yes when they meant no, but 63% of men said yes when they meant no.
Of course.
So rather interestingly, if we want to go down that route, this study, and this is the three country study, the America, Russia, and Japan one, has found that, you know, in their instance, more than half of the men were basically raped, but about 40% of the women were. It's kind of it's not sort of an actual rape or sexual assault thing. It's just a kind of, they're sure that they want to have sex because, you know, it's with their partner, but maybe not at that moment in time. So it's not an actual, for the sake of the study, it's not actually sort of a criminal offense kind of thing.
Well, you know, honestly, I would also say that when it comes to, because Allison was saying, you know, female bosses, I don't even know if it necessarily has to be a female boss because of that card that women can pull, right? Of, you know, he sexually harassed me, whatever. A man is vulnerable to sexual harassment from above, laterally, and below his position, right?
Yeah.
Because a woman can get away with it, and she knows it, and she can accuse him, and he knows it.
Yeah. Okay. This is, like I said, my point is that they don't have the situation for men. Sounds like it's sort of difficult to find it. This is, it's not a male privilege. It's a recognition. Like, somebody put it this way. If you're going down a street and you have an armful of flowers, flower vendors don't come up to you and say, "Hey, would you like some flowers?" That doesn't mean they respect the flowers more than you. So get the fuck off of this bullshit idea that this is about male privilege. Okay,
if saying I have a boyfriend only works to turn away 90% of the men, then try saying I have a girlfriend. You'll find that turns away 99% of men. Now,
Actually,
does that
no,
mean you respect women more than men?
It actually doesn't. Sometimes they change their tack and then they start hinting about, you know, threesomes and stuff. But they will actually, if you let them know that, you know, you just don't do men.
I have a relationship with God. How about that one? With a nun's habit on. How many men does a nun's habit turn off?
This actually reminds me of that, you know, that New York, you know, 10 hours walking in New York video. You know? Yeah, okay. Yeah, but she walked around for 10 hours in New York City, and there was 3 minutes of people saying good morning and have a nice day and stuff, right?
It was like 2 minutes.
And a couple guys who were like getting creepy. But okay, so here's the thing. Somebody else after that video went up, did a social experiment. A woman walking around, she was just casually, you know, in snug fitting clothes and a cardigan, and, you know, but not overtly sexual or anything, right? And she had lots of people say, "Hey, good morning," or whatever, right? Over 3 hours, lots of people were talking to her. And then she put on a hijab and was completely unmolested. Nobody really, you know, people smiled at her respectfully, did not engage in conversation, because that was the signal that she's off limits to that kind of approach, right? Not necessarily off limits in terms of like not interested in dating or whatever, but off limits to that particular kind of approach. And okay, so, you know, like, honestly, she's saying with her hijab, "I'm not taking any offers at the moment, thanks."
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it will help her if there's any snipers on buildings to avoid shooting her too. It's a highly visible marker from a wide distance.
Hillary.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Shock horror. Clothing has social connotation and social signaling. Whoever would have thought it? Oh no, wait, that's slut shaming, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like when you apply the standard, or when you apply the rule that clothing is a signifier of XYZ because it's a signifier of a lot of things, that's fine unless it's talking about women in a certain context. What's the phrase? If you don't want to be treated like a whore, don't dress like one.
Yeah. Okay. I think this should
By
be
the
the
way-
last one.
Next panel is missing the speech bubble saying that thing you just said is factually inaccurate. Carry on.
Okay, yeah, this. I think this should be the next one because this is possibly the best one.
This one?
Where it's got cut off at the bottom, it looks like a really bad anime dub. My feelings are valid and I'm allowed to fucking.
Okay.
All right, so this is more judgment from other people. Calm down. Just chill. You're crazy. You're always so angry. Is it that time of the month? You're a bitch. My feelings are valid and I'm allowed to fucking feel them.
For those of you
she's
listening
kind of
along
being a
at
bitch
home,
right
it's
now.
Okay, here's what.
Wait, Karen, I gotta describe it. For those of you listening along at home, this is a panel of a social justice warrior having basically a 2-year-old. She looks like a 2-year-old having a meltdown because she's not getting a candy bar in the supermarket.
Okay.
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, here's what my mother and father always told me, something along the lines of this, and all responsible parents tell their children is, yes, you have every right to be miserable. You do not have a right to make everyone around you miserable, so you need to go somewhere else and have your little tantrum. Because, yes, you have a right to your feelings, but you don't get to vomit them on me.
Yeah, and here's the other thing: is that they simultaneously want to turn around and say that they do the emotional labor of anything.
Oh, and then they want to turn around and say that PMS and PMDD is like it's
legitimate.
It is a legitimate thing, but it's a legitimate defense for like things like assault and it's postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis are legitimate defenses for murdering your children, right? But God forbid anybody suggests that maybe your period is making you irrational.
Yeah, that's it's a oh god. And
Well, I mean,
I
it has been proven like to have an effect on things like what women are attracted to. Like they will change their sexual preference in partner regarding whether they're on their period or off, or the point of they are in their cycle. So I have to wonder, how long are we going to see until women it's like, oh, I was at the high point of my ovulation when I slept with this guy. God damn it, my biology tricked me. I'm not actually interested in 6'5" muscular guys. That was rape.
Yeah, no, and it actually has been shown to affect the way women vote.
okay.
If there are two male candidates, when they're approaching ovulation, they will prefer the more masculine one, and when they're approaching menses, they will prefer the less masculine one.
Okay, can I just
So old women are going to vote for Hillary.
I guess. She's the more masculine one, I guess.
What? Okay, all right. I'm stepping away from that one.
All right, I'm just joking.
Okay, my feelings are valid and I'm allowed to fucking feel them. Well, not all the time you are, because one would presume if you have a job you can't spew your feelings all over customers.
Well, she's perfectly entitled to feel them.
Oh yeah, she's entitled to feel them.
Entitled to express them.
Or inflict them on other people.
Yeah.
Or to be able to inflict them on other people and then shame other people for having a judgment of her behavior in the process of her inflicting her emotions on other people. This has got to be the most entitled bunch of crap I've ever seen.
No,
you get to have a fucking temper tantrum. You get to scream and yell at people, and act like a 2-year-old being denied a lolly in a fucking grocery store, and you get to turn around and shame anybody who so much as raises an objection to your crappy behavior. You know what? You don't get to do that. Feel free to express your emotions, but you don't get to then control people's judgments that you are a hysterical woman child.
Yeah. No, it's really this sort of stunted thing. Like I'm going to recommend Greg Louganov's and Jonathan Haidt's article, beautiful article called "The Coddling of the American Mind." In terms of when you really want to understand what's going on when some woman is screaming in a dean's face, it is not about creating an intellectual space. It's about creating a home here. You know, that some of these adults, they're allowed to vote. Right? They're allowed to influence our political system.
Worse,
and participate.
They're allowed to run.
Yeah,
soon.
and they have
Some of them just need to run Trigglypuff.
And they have never ever learned how to master their emotions. And emotional intelligence is not vomiting your emotions all over everybody. Emotional intelligence is having some kind of self-control and mastery of what you're feeling and how you're expressing it. That's what it is. That's what emotional intelligence is. And these freaking women who are saying, I should be able to do whatever I want, treat everybody around me however I want, because my feelings are valid, right? And that justifies my abuse of others, right? Which is essentially what she's saying, right? People are essentially saying when they say you're cranky or crotchety or whatever the fuck they're saying, you hostile, whatever, they're saying you're abusing me, right? And she's saying, I'm entitled to my emotions and I'm also entitled to abuse you with them. That's what she's saying.
Yeah. And then they'll turn around and they'll say that women should be as respected as men. Well, if you want a safe space,
that is,
if you want to,
yeah,
if you want a safe space and people to tolerate your emotions, you're not going to get the same level of respect about being able to build a safe space. Like, this is the funny thing. Women say, I want a safe space. I want to be able to express my emotions completely. And so men create the environment. They build the safe space. They learn to do the emotional labor of just allowing someone to go hysterical in their presence and not react to it and not judge it. And then maybe they get together with the Safe Space Construction Committee and they get awarded an additional amount of money for being able to build those wonderful safe spaces, and maybe a 20-year medal for their dedication to building safe spaces. And then the women in those fucking safe spaces turn around and say, well, why can't we get that too? Because if you're going to occupy a safe space, and if you're listening, you probably realize this metaphor means more than a safe space. If you're going to occupy a safe space, you don't get simultaneously get the benefits of being in that safe space, being safe in that safe space, and the benefits of the people who construct it. Because that doesn't even make it. That you're asking society to break itself in half for your bullshit. How is it even possible that you could simultaneously expect men to build a safe space and get not the privileges, but the recognition and respect of being a safe space builder? You cannot be an occupant of safe spaces and get the recognition of respect of being a safe space builder. Somebody has to stand the line, and they have to be respected for standing the line that you are behind being safe in. Okay.
Here's an idea. Instead of saying my feelings are valid and I'm allowed to fucking feel them, how about saying my feelings are not the point? That would have been a good response to all these speech bubbles here. I believe it or not, I very often get told you're crazy and you're always so angry, and my response is thank you very much for the play-by-play commentary. Now, is there any truth to the thing I just said, or is there not? That being the point, please, thank you very much. And that suggests to me that whatever you're responding to in this panel, social justice lady, is in fact nothing to do with facts or anything that can be ascertained in the real world. You made some kind of point about your feelings, something like men should have their rights taken away because I feel afraid. And then people told you, okay, well, your feelings are unimportant. And then you said, no, my feelings are important. I'm telling you to take it the other direction, is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Our feelings are not the point. Well, I think that for people like this, their feelings are the point. So unfortunately, they can't say. There's something interesting here, but I don't know what it is. Shall we call it a day?
Shall we call it a day? Because it just
goes on.
It just
Yeah,
keeps
no,
going.
and
The river of warm spit just
I
goes
just
on
smoked
and
my
on
last
and on.
cigarette, and I have to go out and get more. So,
Yeah, well, you stuck with us for this length of time, even despite being shushed.
well, I spent a lot of time cooking. I've been cooking because I have to get caught up. So, I've been cooking a whole bunch of things while I've been on air.
Actually, go forward one. Let's read the
You
caption
want to
there.
see the next one?
Yeah, the next one. No, the one the one with the woman going crazy. Let's read the caption.
Oh, underneath. Let's see. When women get angry, emotional, or upset, they're called hysterical or bitches. When they stay quiet, they're called passive or ice queens. It's lose-lose. It's so bad being judged.
Oh, fucking hell. You know what? People's
they could
opinions oppress you. Thank you. You know what? You promote the idea that people's opinions oppress women. That is an opinion that oppresses me! Ha ha ha!
Yeah, no, I would actually say, because, like, yes, I do the Rantzerker and I, get feisty and stuff, right? But most of the time when I'm actually expressing my opinions, I'm quite reserved, like, in terms of how I'm emotionally, conveying my opinion. Like, I don't tend to pander to emotions. It's not lose-lose, because, when you're emotional, right, and you're saying something completely fucked up, people think you're a bitch. When you are unemotional and saying something completely fucked up, you're also maybe like an ice queen or something.
Or a bitch.
Yeah, but when you're actually in control of your emotions and just expressing an opinion that is intelligent and cogent and coherent, right? People don't tend to think you're a bitch. Nobody really thinks I'm a bitch.
I think you're a bitch.
Oh, whatever. Oh, hey. Here,
Oh.
let me show you something. Before we go, I'm going to turn on my camera, and I'm going to show you what someone got me.
Okay, but you're not actually going to be showing anyone else unless Brian cues that up somehow.
I can stop.
Do it while she's doing whatever it is she's doing.
I'm grabbing it because a gentleman at the conference, and I wish I could remember his name, but I'm so bad with names, got me this.
I don't see anything.
Got me you.
Yeah, you're not sharing.
There it is. There it is.
All right,
Okay,
all
now
right.
hold on.
Hold that pose there, Karen. We got to share it with everyone.
All right, it's on the
Bring
screen.
enough
now.
for everyone. Okay. But there's a bit of lag, so. All right. Yes. Awesome. Oh, honey badger wine.
Yeah, red wine, honey badger
cool.
wine. And it was delicious. It was actually really good. And when I hugged my sister goodbye, we had only gotten through 1.5 bottles of it. He insisted that I share it with you, Allison, but I don't check my luggage when I go on the plane, and so I couldn't bring any of it back.
Well, you technically brought it back inside your liver.
Yeah, I did, and so we drank a bottle and a half, and then I left the last half of a bottle, and when I hugged her goodbye, I said, "Enjoy drinking the rest of my wine, bitch."
Wait, what the fuck? Did we just have a gorilla in our
What are you talking about?
stream? Oh, fucking hell, Brian.
What?
Okay, no, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah,
I'm not really, I don't
I
really.
brought the empty bottle home as a souvenir because it's awesome.
Where do you get the wine from?
It's a South African wine, and I'm not sure where he got it from, but
Oh, that's so weird because I just had like a South African cider in the last video that I did, commemorating the purchase of the honey badger cave.
do you want me to read the little description on the label?
This is just the total shit talk. This is like the you can tune out now because there's probably no more business that's going to get done now. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
This is the part where the stream has descended into being an advert for wine instead of
Yeah.
Colgate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You better make sure you get a check for this.
I'm gonna read this. Lured by the honey-guide bird to the tempting dangers of the beehive, Africa's honey badger attacks with little regard for the stinging consequences, reaping the sweet reward of teamwork. This undeterred attitude and unlikely partnership inspired the identity of this boldly luscious red that panders to those who prefer their wine rich, ripe, and sumptuously fruity, smooth, succulent, and simply delicious socially or with red meat on the barbecue, mature yellow cheese, or berry-inspired desserts.
Perfect with the heart of a snake.
Find them at honeybadgerwine.com. So if you want to, it's a little bit sweet, but I don't normally drink red wine, and so I don't mind a sweet red wine. And it was actually quite tasty, and yeah, it was really good.
I just find it an interesting coincidence that the cider that I drank was a South African cider called Savannah. This is a South African honey badger wine.
Yeah.
It's all coming together. All of the strands are weaving together. But yeah, I might as well say that we made it. We got the Badger fundraiser done. We're currently sitting at about 54,000. So that's really great. I have a bit extra to do all the shit that needs to be done, getting the utilities, getting the what is it called, telephony thing in, and maybe a bit of renovations might be possible. Don't know yet, but we'll find out. And so thanks again. And the fundraiser is still going to be open till tomorrow. For those of you who were complaining that on last Friday, I actually said the fundraiser was open when it wasn't, and you tried to donate, which is probably fucking hilarious. I can just see you like pushing, trying to donate, and not being able to. And I know that's terrible, and I'm sorry. So I opened it up again for you guys who were like, "Why can't I donate?" All right, so and it's going to be open for another day. So go there and support. Be part of the initiative, the push forward to make this happen. It's www.feedthebadger.com. And there you go, Teal Deer. It's actually a shill for us in the end.
Everything is a fucking advert.
You're all shills. Shills. Should I close this out?
I think so.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on the show, and we will talk to you very soon.
No.
No. What?
What, the patron thing? We don't have to go that quick.
Oh, well then. All right.
No, we can discuss.
Okay, I do have to go this quick because I smoked my last cigarette about 10 minutes ago, and
Yeah.
and that's not a good situation. So I have to zip out and get more.
Can you give him 5 minutes? Can you give him 5 minutes and say
I
hi?
can come back.
Okay, come back then. Then leave it open. We'll stare at the people walking past.
No, I'll turn my camera off and I'll turn my mic off.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
All right. So what's up?
So we could do more Pinterest, or so.
Well, I mean, I have the next image up. Good times.
Okay.
Wait. We're still live. So you're talking about for the patrons. All right.
You didn't turn off the actual video?
No, I didn't know that it was time to quit. Okay, we're quitting now.